final part D for section 8.4 on solving equations. We've got 3 different forms that we're going to deal with, some of which use the distributive property. Alright, here we go. So we're in example 1, apply equations in the form AX equals B plus CX. In a jar of coins, there are 30 fewer quarters than dimes. The amount of money in dimes equals the amount of money in quarters. How many dimes are in the jar? So with word problems, deciphering what it's talking about is half the game. So the value of a dime we know is worth 10 cents, so that's $0.10. The value of a quarter is $0.25. We're going to let the letter D equal the number of dimes, and we're going to use a table to organize our information. Tables can be very handy. So the value of each coin, 10 cents for dimes, 25 cents for quarters. We're going to say that dimes is represented by D. And now if you look back, there are 30 fewer quarters than dimes. That references the quantity of quarters. So if we know the number of dimes, the number of quarters is 30 less than that. So that means it's D minus 30. So then it says that the amount of money in dimes equals the amount of money in quarters, which we'll use in a minute. So the total value. If you have D dimes, then the value you have is the number of dimes times 10 cents. That's how much money you have in dimes. So that means this becomes 0.10 times D. If you have D minus 30 quarters, then that's how many you have. You multiply that by the value of a quarter to find out how much money you have. So in this case, it's 0.25 times D minus 30. So you probably can see now that we're going to end up using the distributive property. So we've got value of the dimes, value of the quarters. We're told that the amount of money in dimes equals the amount of money in quarters. So therefore these two cells in the chart, cell is the box, these two cells are equal in value. So that means our equation is 0.10D is equal to 0.25 times D minus 30. This is the equation we're figuring out. If we can calculate what D equals, then we'll know how many dimes there are, and then by that we can calculate how many quarters there are. So that's how to go about approaching this. So as I said, distributive property comes first. So we're multiplying 0.25 across each of the terms inside the bracket. So 0.25 times D is the first part. Then we're subtracting 0.25 times 30. And that takes care of the distributive property. So to simplify that, this becomes 0.25D minus, and then this becomes 7.5. 0.25 times 30 is 7.5. So now we are faced with the situation where we've got two terms with the letter D in it, and one with no variable, so it's a constant. So we need to group our variables together and then simplify them. So we've got a constant on this side, a variable on this side. I like that, but we've got this variable over on this side. We should move it over so that it's with the other variable. So if we've got a term in the front, it's assumed to be plus, or adding 0.25D. That's what this actually means. We're adding 0.25D in, then we're subtracting 7.5. So if we're adding 0.25, the opposite is to subtract 0.25. So we're going to subtract 0.25D on the right. To keep it equals, we have to subtract it on the left as well. So then 0.1D minus 0.25D. That is the same as 0.1 minus 0.25 times D. So this becomes negative 0.15D. That's the left side. The right side, these 2.25Ds just cancel each other out, leaving you with negative 7.5. So now, to get D all by itself, we've got this coefficient of negative 0.15. That's times D, so we're going to divide by negative 0.15 to get rid of that number and leave D by itself. So we're going to divide by negative 0.15, those two cancel each other out, leaving you with D. And then on this side, we've got negative 7.5. Oh, my negative isn't working. Divided by 0.15. So it's 50. Is that right? A new calculator. So D is equal to 50. So that means there are 50 dimes in the jar. But we're not done. We can check all this. If we say that there are 50 dimes in the jar, then that means that we've got $5. 50 times 0.1 is $5. Over in the quarter column, 50 minus 30 means that there's 20 quarters. 20 times 0.25, well, that's also $5. Both dollar amounts match, so we've set this up correctly. And we are correct that there are 50 dimes and 20 quarters. So that's a good example of how you can use all this to solve a real life problem. Next up is a show you know along the same lines. Give it a go.